NF is such a powerful and gifted artist due to the fact that he does not shy away from talking about tough topics such as mental health struggles, crises of faith, complicated familial relationships, and so much more. All of these things culminate to prove that NF is the most underrated rapper in the industry right now, and this EP just solidifies that. So let's start off with my personal favorite song on the EP, and that is the title track, Fear. So I wrote down 3 quotes that I think are the most hard-hitting. The first one is, "OCD is worse than ever, hands are bleeding, maybe I should take the pills, don't." So I think that this quote really resonates with me as someone that has OCD, and it's clear here that the line "hands are bleeding" obviously references the compulsion of hand washing, and then him saying maybe I should take the pills, and then kind of arguing with himself, don't. From a personal standpoint, I can understand the hesitancy with taking medication to heal OCD because OCD will make you doubt that. So OCD is a doubting disease, and it makes you doubt all of your decisions, and especially one as serious as taking medication, which is very debilitating because even something that could potentially help you, such as medication, is turned into something that could be villainous, or you question whether this would change your whole personality or take away, maybe in NF's case, his talent. There's so many fears associated with every decision when you have OCD, taking medication, of course, being one of them. The second one that I wrote down is, "Told the world that I was sick of running, then went back to running, what a joke," which I think is so sad. And of course here he's referencing my favorite song from the Hope album, Running, and from my perspective, this song is NF arguing with himself or his OCD, saying, "I'm done running from you. I've spent my whole life in the shadows, scared, but I've given enough of my life to you and I need to say goodbye, even though it hurts." And it kind of just shows the toxic relationship with one's mental health disorder, where it's oddly comforting because you've had it with you your whole life, but it is a type of self-sabotage to engage in these compulsive or anxious thoughts. In that song Running, he's trying to break free from that. So he's saying, "I told the world I was done running, thought I had a breakthrough, but now I'm essentially back at square one, spiraling again," which is, as I said, very heart-wrenching to hear him say, but it's honest. And then finally, another quote that I wrote down was, "Standing back, watching my mansion burn to ash while I hold the gas can, asking God if he started this fire." As I mentioned in the intro, NF is not afraid to broach the hard topics, especially when it comes to his faith. And here he's asking the question that I think a lot of Christians are afraid to ask, which is, did God give me this mental health disorder? Is this God's will? Is this God's plan? Is this how God intended me to be? Which is a really scary thought because, of course, OCD, along with any mental health disorder, is very debilitating. And so I think it's a very scary thought to think, what if God actually intended me to be this way? So NF released a music video to go along with this song, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the symbolism in this video. So of course, right off the bat, I noticed that NF was unlocking or locking himself in, it was unclear, this room, this mansion, and it was the same clip played 2 or 3 times over. So I picked up on that, and to me that's like a symbolism of checking locks, which is a compulsion that I struggle with, so I picked up on that. And also, of course, he's repeatedly washing his hands in this music video, so that could go along with the line "hands bleeding." It could symbolize OCD, of course. And then also, like some of his other music videos, there's multiple versions of NF in the beginning of the video and throughout the video, and I think this again symbolizes OCD because when you have OCD, it feels like you're arguing with yourself and that there's multiple voices in your own mind and you're battling your own demons. Like, it's not an external source, but it's your own mind. And he even has a line in Fear that says something along the lines of, "I feel like I'm schizo," and I think the multiple versions of himself here represent that. There's also a mansion burning, of course, on the cover of this EP, but also in this music video. And NF has talked about multiple times his mind being like a mansion with all these different rooms where trauma is being held, and you can see the mansion burning, so maybe he's alluding to the fact that he feels like his mind is on fire. So I wanted to touch on the second song, Home, but I'm not going to go into too much detail because this song is very emotional for me, and so I feel like if I go in depth then I'm going to get emotional. But this is very clearly a song about grief and not knowing how you're going to move on once a person that has been with you your whole life is gone, and not knowing how to move on without this person. The beginning part of the song kind of makes it seem like the speaker is pretending that that person is still there, leaving voicemails on their phone saying, "I know you'll call me back later." So maybe being in the denial stage of grief. And this song also has a lot of nostalgia in it, reflecting on the memories that the speaker has with this person. And it is a very sad song and perpetuates the tone of sadness that this EP obviously encapsulates. Next we have Who I Was featuring MGK. I wrote down a few hard-hitting lines for this song as well. So the first one is in MGK's verse. "I hid from God for more than 2 decades of life. And when I came back to the light, he didn't ask me if I'm Christian still, just opened his arms and embraced me like I'm his son." I think that those few verses there are so powerful because although I feel that MGK's verse overall is choppy and discombobulated and just overall doesn't flow well, I like his messaging here and what he's saying, especially the way that he shares that God doesn't expect you to be perfect or cleaned up or come to him without having any questions or doubt. He just wants to be with you and comfort you and love you as his child, and he doesn't care if you have questions, which again we've talked about. NF is not afraid to ask hard questions of God, so I like that MGK incorporated that into his verse also. The second quote that stood out to me from this song says, "Kids of my own, I step back, look at these smiles and feel sad. Hope they don't wind up like dad, stuck in this loop like I am." Now those few verses are some of the saddest on this entire EP to me, because it's so sad to have a mental health disorder or health issues of any kind, mental or physical, and fearing that you're going to pass that on to your children, either genetically or through your patterns and habits that your children pick up on. Although I don't have children, this is something that I feared and talked about with my loved ones over and over again. I think that a lot of people could relate to wanting to pass on some of your attributes to your children, but definitely not your mental health disorder or any health issues. Next, we got an upbeat song, which is called Give Me a Reason. Now through this song, you can obviously tell that NF is very clearly motivated by people telling him he can't do something and challenging him and pushing him. Now, as I mentioned in my intro, I believe that NF is very underrated, and I feel like just in conversations that I've had with other people about NF, that NF is largely written off in the rap community and is not considered worthy to be on the same level as other rap artists. And I think it's obvious that NF is aware of that, but he's saying here that this kind of talk motivates him to push harder and to try harder to prove these people wrong. I think this song just encapsulates NF wanting to have a seat at the table and be considered worthy to be compared to these other rap artists in the industry. And again, just shows that when people hate on him, it does motivate him to try harder to be better. And also this song does convey a struggle to get his motivation back. The next to last song is called Sorry, and I don't have much to say about this song except for it's very clearly a song about remorse and wanting someone back after you've mistreated them and wanting their forgiveness. James Arthur features on this song and his voice is so beautiful, and I think that it pairs perfectly with NF's vocals on this track. The last song on this EP is called Washed Up, and this song calls back to fear and Give Me a Reason because it encapsulates the idea of him wanting to get his motivation and his drive back, and also reminiscing on past versions of himself. Now, as I've said before, OCD is the doubting disease, and it makes you doubt everything, even yourself and your own abilities, and it makes you feel like you can't even trust yourself. And I think that this song perfectly displays and encapsulates that concept. For me, it's sad to reminisce on the lyric that he wrote on Let Him Pray in his last album that says, "Think I hit my peak? Nah, I just started climbing the hill." And now he's going back to questioning himself, which is very real, and NF is nothing if not real. But as a fan, it makes me really sad to hear that. So the song Washed Up was also accompanied by a music video, and we are back to seeing multiple versions of NF. One in a white sweatsuit, which was the aesthetic of Hope, and then one in an all-black sweatsuit. At the beginning of this music video, Dark Nate digs up the grave of Light Nate, and there is this blank piece of parchment that Dark Nate finds, and many fans have speculated that this is a callback to the search where NF says looking for the map to hope. So fans have said that this could be symbolism for the map to hope, but it's blank. Now, nearer to the end of this music video, there is a Grim Reaper type figure who buries the Dark Nate and burns the mansion down. We know that NF is a fan of displaying different versions of himself in his music videos and cover art and the aesthetics surrounding his album, and this EP is no different. So with this Grim Reaper figure here, you can't help but wonder if this is going to be revealed as another version of NF. Either way, the symbolism associated with these music videos and this album doesn't inspire hope that his music is going in a positive direction. Now, I wanted to kind of just close with my overall thoughts of this EP. We know that NF has talked about multiple times in his music that music is a therapy for him, and NF believes that God gave him the gift of being able to rap and sing and write music as a way to cope with his mental health struggles, and again is just a sort of therapy for him. And so of course he's going to use it as such, and it's very clear that his music is autobiographical. So in my opinion, to critique this album saying that it's not good is honestly uncalled for, because just like any artist that writes autobiographical music, this is just a reflection of their mindset or their headspace or how they're feeling in their lives at the moment. And I feel like it's not our place as consumers to label songs, music, albums good or bad when these artists are using music as a way to cope and try to help themselves. And I think it all boils down to, do the songs resonate with you in the place that you are in your life right now? Because although as a whole, I don't feel like I resonate with this album in the place in my life that I am right now as much as I might hope or The Search, I can appreciate that this is a raw and honest reflection of NF's headspace and his life right now. At the end of the day, NF fans are going to ride with him no matter what, because I feel that if you're a fan of NF, it's for a very specific reason, because you relate to him or resonate with him in some way. So I think that NF's fan base is one that is going to stick with him through all seasons. And those who get it, and those who don't. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to listen to my thoughts and opinions of Fear. I would love to hear what you all thought of the album. Do you feel like you resonated with it? What other symbolism did you pick up on? What lines were the most hard-hitting for you? I would love to hear all of your thoughts. So please don't hesitate to leave a comment below, and please give this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Bye guys.